Welcome to Financial Issues, where we join reality with truth, helping you make the most of your money by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Financial Issues this morning. It is Tuesday, April the 1st, 2025. We are live this morning. That's not an April Fool's joke, folks. We are actually live. It is April 1st, and it's good to be here with you all today. Our phone lines are open, 610-363-1110, 610-363-1110. I'm Seth Udinsky in with you today. Great to be here with you, along with my friend and brother, the Blues Brothers, as we were referred to on the chat yesterday, Sam Case. Sam, it's good to have you, buddy. We're doing well,
I wish I could sing like that, though.
I know.
That'd be great.
Me too. It's good to be here with you folks. Hey, I would encourage you, please ask. If you've got questions, ask us today. We'd love to try to help you out. We'll get to some of your questions later on in the show, of course. But before we get to any of that, let me just open our show here. Some good news and some bad news on the show this morning. Good news, we got a great partner commentary up this morning, so check that out. Make sure to read that partner commentary from Shanna. It's excellent, very well done. Bad news, the USDA has been uncovered to have apparently funded research into queer farmers.
And sadly, that's not April Fool's.
That is not an April Fool's joke. It's not an April Fool's joke. That is sad. So we'll take a look at what that means later. That is our tax dollars, so that's pretty bad news. Good news, it appears the state of Idaho is moving towards making prenatal development a mandatory subject in public schools. That is a move in favor of the pro-life movement, in favor of looking at unborn children as the humans that they are. That's very good news. Bad news, U.S. GDP is expected to be outpaced by U.S. debt within the next generation. So good news, bad news today. All of that we'll try to get to
this
today.
Is whiplash.
Yeah, it seriously is. But the good news is our phone lines are open and we'd love to have your calls as well. 610-363-1110. And some great news. We'd love to continue to honor our founder, Dan Celia. This week, we're honoring him, the 3rd anniversary of his homegoing. He's with the Lord now. I thought, Sam, it'd be fun for us to kind of open our show with one more Dan clip here, a good old Dan rant. So let's hear what Dan Celia had to say about hitting companies in the bottom line.
We have got to hit companies in the bottom lines. But more importantly, can we just stop? It doesn't matter what the world's doing. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. All of that is irrelevant. Can we, children of God, or those of us who are proclaimed to be children of God, can we stop grieving his heart? We grieve his heart enough through our own sinful nature that we are fighting every single day of our life. Can we not do it with the finances that he has blessed us with? And there's no reason to do it. So I say I'm passionate about biblically responsible investing because I'm passionate about the murder of babies. I'm passionate about the moral fiber of families that is eroding away because of pornography and gambling, those two things alone destroying that. I'm passionate about those things because I know I don't pretend. I'm not a theologian. I don't pretend to know an enormous amount about the nature of God. I know enough about the nature of God to be able to go through my scripture and the hermeneutic side of what I know to be able to try to interpret the God's word by understanding his nature. But look, I do know this. I know that grieves his heart. I know it does because I know enough about his nature to know that. And all I want from you is that you guys would be passionate and committed to the same. Food on the table every day. He doesn't promise us riches. He promises to provide for our needs. He does promise to bless us as we bless him in his work. We will be blessed. I don't know where that blessing's coming. I don't know what's coming here on earth or it's coming in glory. I'll take it in glory. That suit me fine. But we know he's going to bless it.
That's the core of our ministry, folks. We believe God's going to bless you if you're obedient to him. Simple as that. Sam, the one thing Dan said there that I disagree with sharply is that he was not a theologian. Yes, he was.
I actually thought that too. He's like, well, I don't know too much. I'm like, you know quite a bit, Dan.
Yeah, he was a theologian. Good grief. He was actually ordained, which I don't know if many people might not know that, but Dan knew his scripture, his scriptures backwards and forward, and to be able to have that same biblical knowledge. That's what we want here. Good stuff. Sam, I know we got a great comment as well from Linda yesterday on Facebook. Why don't you read that one for us?
Yeah, this was a wonderful message from Linda. She said, Dan was a man on God's mission to teach, save, guide, encourage every person he could influence for God's kingdom. We'll all miss his smile, his rants, his advice. Forever grateful to Dan and FISM for helping me overcome my fear of investing and managing my own portfolio. It took several years of carefully watching FISM, listening, learning to trust what he said was true, then jumping in and applying what he said. FISM has given me that courage, and yes, I have made money and been able to give more to God's work because of it. She says she's still learning from Shanna and the FISM team. She thanks us all. She says big hugs to Dan's family and all of you that were so close to him. Grateful you took the challenge to keep this ministry going. Again, that is Linda from Facebook.
That's awesome. Linda, thanks for that encouragement. And let me send it right back to you, Linda, and everyone listening as well. Partners, those who've invested in the ministry, you have taken the challenge to keep this ministry going. You have agreed to trust in us, even as we have tried to take on the mantle that Dan left for us. So thank you all for keeping us going, because we cannot do this without you. Simple as that. Linda, great words there. We appreciate that encouragement so much. Hey, folks, do want to remind you, we've got a new website out. Very, very exciting. Very exciting to have this new website out. We recently launched it. Many of you have said how much you're enjoying it. I love to see that. We already got some chat comments about that. Many of you also have been quick to notice that there are some kinks getting worked out. That oftentimes happens with something like this. We are aware of these issues, especially that one that many of you are experiencing with the buy and the broad list not fully loading, some holdings missing. We're addressing this as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So please just be assured with that, folks. We appreciate your patience, your understanding. And just a reminder, if you have any questions about this at all, any questions at all, you can reach out to us, pat@financialissues.org. Pat will be able to take care of you. You can also send us a note if you go to the front page of the website and click the contact button. That's a great way to do it there also. And you're welcome to put up your questions on the chat as well. If they're appropriate for the show, we'll try to address them on the show as well. But send those coming. Your feedback really helps us there, folks. So it's great stuff. All right, Sam, let's get to some big news of the day here. Other than the tariffs, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I think the biggest thing we saw yesterday was the U.S. interest apparently is going to outpace GDP by 2045. Bad news here. What have you got for us,
Devastating
Sam?
news here, Seth. According to the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, yes, sadly, it's true. The interest on the federal debt is now set to outpace GDP by 2045. So that clock is ticking down. That analysis is based on the latest data from the Congressional Budget Office. They're also warning that Social Security could be insolvent in just 8 years. But thankfully, the Trump administration appears to be well aware that this is a looming problem, Seth. Last month, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he said the U.S. is right now on a course for, quote, financial crisis. That is, if we don't get our spending under control. Here's Bessent.
I can tell you that if we'd kept on this track, what I could guarantee is we would have had a financial crisis. I've studied it, I've taught it, and if we had kept up at these spending levels, that everything was unsustainable. So we are resetting and we are putting things on a sustainable path.
So there you go, Seth. Also in that interview there, he was asked about a recession, and that was kind of the context of everything he was saying. He's saying, listen, I can't guarantee there will or won't be a recession. I don't think there's going to be one, but what he said he does know is that the United States needs to go into a spending detox mode because we've been addicted to government spending, and that's going to have disastrous results, as this data seems to show.
Yeah, it absolutely will, Sam. This cannot be good for our nation's future, for sure. And folks, I hope that you're seeing the lesson here. Sam, I feel like this is basic economics 101. This is basic finance 101. You cannot be a sustainable organization if you're spending with no holds barred and you're spending more than you're bringing in. Unfortunately, our government is doing that. Folks, how you spend makes such a huge difference. It really does. And I hope that you will not look to the U.S. government as your example for how to spend your money. But I hope that you'll look to the scriptures, to live within your means, to buy what you can afford, to save up well, to invest well, to be generous. Not things that you would think of when you think of our government overlords and leaders and how they spend money. And
really, honestly, Seth, the government shouldn't be an example for most things in your life.
Exactly.
I really can't think of anything
that's a great point.
It should be an example for.
Absolutely. Especially when your finances. But yes, with that as well, I agree with you completely, Sam. And it's a good reminder too, folks, what Shanna has said. The problems that we've been seeing in our nation, the financial problems, they all find their root in unchecked government spending. That's what we're seeing here. So good for us to keep that in mind for sure, in spite of this otherwise rough news we've seen this morning. We'll take a look at the markets coming back. Also, we got some questions from you all. We'll get to those as well. And the phone lines are open if you'd like to join the conversation at 610-363-1110. We'll be right back after this. How is Timothy Plan continuing to lead the fight as you guys now enter your fourth decade of leading this fight of biblically responsible investing?
We've been too silent for too long, and we can no longer be silent. You stand up, like Ronald Reagan said, we're only one generation away from losing all of our liberty. Yeah. It has to be fought for. I wish it didn't. And you can fight for it. You don't need guns and ammunition and that. You can fight for it, especially with your dollars, because it's always about the money. And when the money starts impacting people, they start paying attention. When we launched this, they said it couldn't be done, but here we are 30 years later. They said you couldn't get competitive returns, but here we are.
What a tremendous testament of God's grace.
Go to financialissues.org/Timothy Plans to learn more about Timothy Plan.
My name is Reagan Gardner, and I am in the 4th grade. Last year, I wanted to be like everybody else. I thought I had to act different, look different, and be different to be cool. When I joined Crossroads, I learned that God loves me just the way that I am.
Help reach more kids like Reagan with the hope of the gospel. To learn more about Crossroads Kids Club and how you can get involved, visit reachOurschools.com.
If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. On top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support preborn.
Then they sat me down. If you were to die today, do you think you would go to heaven? And I was like, no. Keeping the child was my first stepping stone, and ever since then, God has cleaned me up from the inside out.
Help support women in need. Go to preborn.com/FISM.
Securities offered through G.A. Reppel & Company, a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member FINRA and SIPC. Opinions expressed by Shanna are hers alone and are for informational purposes only and do not necessarily represent those of G.A. Reppel or the outlet on which you are listening. You should consider how the information applies to your situation prior to personally implementing it and consult any financial professional you work with to make sure it's applicable to your financial plan.
Hey, we're live this morning, folks. Good to see you all today. I see Jason, Lisa, Dave and Darlene, Robert, Uncle John on the chat, Nelson. Good to see you all. James from South Carolina. James was saying, did my homework on the new website, not only helped me navigate, but revealed how robust it is. James, I'm glad you're liking it, man. That's awesome. I'd encourage all of you, if you're interested in the website and just learning it, just play around with it. Try it out a little bit, see what works, see what doesn't work. If something doesn't work, let us know. If something does work, that's great. And by does work, I mean, most of it should be working, but what I'm more saying is if it works for you, if you like it, then that is awesome. So James, I'm glad you're finding value in it. That's great stuff. All right, let's move to the markets here, folks. So yesterday, there was a little bit of a comeback after Friday's rough finish, kicking off the week. The major indices had a little more confidence despite some confusion still on the latest tariff news. We're waiting to see what will happen with tariffs today. Sam, I don't know if you want to give us any kind of update on what we're waiting for today, but I know that there's some tariff news that we're probably not going to be able to get on the show today because we're waiting to hear what Trump's going to say.
It's actually tomorrow. It's April 2nd.
It'll be tomorrow,
and,
okay.
the details are always up in the air.
Yeah.
Trump is apt to change his mind mind at the last minute with these sorts of things. The whole idea is it's supposed to be his reciprocal tariff plan, right? He's going to slap tariffs on every country equal to what they have on us. I'm not sure if that's actually going to be the policy, though. The latest from the Washington Post, officials from the White House are saying something like Trump plans to do basically a blanket 20% tariff on just about all imports. I don't know if that's true. That would be quite a dramatic tariff plan, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I could imagine that report could spook the markets if it is true, or they start to think that it might be true.
For sure. Well, it certainly left them in somewhat of a tizzy last week, that's for sure. Monday, they finished okay. The Dow was up a full %. The S&P was up 0.5%. The NASDAQ, the lone loser, but not much. It was just about 1/8% below the flat line. The pre-markets this morning, not really all that low, but slightly below the flat line here. The Dow Jones is pricing into open right around 1/3% in the negative. The S&P 500 1/4% negative, and the NASDAQ right near 1/5% negative as what we're seeing there on Wall Street. So that's what we're looking like for the markets this morning, folks. All right, Sam, let's get to some questions here. This first one, an interesting one. Several people have been asking about Newsmax stock. What have we got there from Beth?
I knew these questions were going to come in because, yes, Newsmax, I think it was up 700% in the first day of trading, which is just wild. So naturally, you're going to have questions about it.
Absolutely.
Beth, she asks, what do you think about the Newsmax stock? Is it going to be on the buy list? I love Newsmax and watch it every day. Likewise, Hobart says, how do you feel about Newsmax stock? Is it going to be an option as a purchase?
Yeah, so great questions, guys, both of you. Thank you for asking this. Shanna has addressed this question in the past. Actually, I have as well. But Shanna addressed it most recently, I believe, on the live show on March the 17th. So if you go back and listen to that, you can hear her words on it exactly. Check out that show. I can briefly share our position. She said it before. I'll summarize it for you. It is always exciting for us to see a new conservative-leaning stock go public. I think that's a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. I think we saw similar things with the DJT stock when that came public also. And when you're talking about Newsmax would not only be a competitor of ours, but also an ally of ours in the conservative news space we're talking about. We've seen Newsmax have great success. This stock is not on our buy list right now, though, and my suspicion is it won't be for some time because we need to see a trajectory of long-term success, folks. That's what we want to see. So before encouraging you to purchase shares of Newsmax, we want to see them moving in the right direction for some time. Now, look, it's great to see a stock go up 700% in one day, but that tends to be, that's not uncommon for these startups. Is sometimes they'll shoot up a lot. They've got a lot of excitement around them, and then they'll taper off a little bit. Maybe they'll come back down almost as consistently as they shot up. Sometimes that happens. So we just want to see long-term success. We don't want to jump on and try to jump off after it shot up several 100%. What we found also, folks, is sometimes this happens. Actually, in fact, I'd say more often than not, this could happen, that companies that did great when they were privately owned don't do as well as publicly traded companies. It's not always the case, but ownership is a big deal. And sometimes if you've got a really good private owner, that's what's going to drive the company's success. Once it goes public, you lose that ownership and then it doesn't have as much success. It could go the inverse as well, by the way. You could have a very successful publicly traded company and then it goes private, it's not as successful. So all those reasons, Beth and Hobart, we just want to wait and see. We want to make sure that this is really a good long-term hold. Remember, we're not in this for these short-term games. We're not in this to watch it go up and try to jump out as soon as it goes up. You want to be in this for 10 to 15 to 20 years. So the hope is that Newsmax does well for the long term. That's really what we want to see here.
You want to make sure this isn't a sort of popularity contest, right? Because understandably, as we're seeing in the comments here, people love Newsmax. They think it's a great product. It's a great TV show. So they're excited to invest into it. But does that tell you anything about the valuation of the company in the long term? Right now, it really doesn't. Plus, you have to remember, they've been pushing it for a long time. If you watched Newsmax at all within, I think, the last year, just about every day, they're saying, hey, we're going to go public, make sure to buy our stock. So I'm sure that has something to do with it as well.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you're right on there, Sam. It's long-term success. And you know what? I don't blame people for being excited about it. Especially you've got conservative investors, you've got a changing of the tide. Trump's
don't take this as a dunk on Newsmax either. It's just saying we don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We want to be cautious and wise. And so I think the answer is definitely not yet, for sure. So hopefully that helps you there, Beth and Hobart. It's a good question. I appreciate you asking that. What else do we have there, Sam?
We got Don here, and I love what he has to say. He says, I don't have a question. I just want to let you know that I was very worried about the recent changes to the portfolio tracker, but after watching your videos, I'm in love with it. Keep up the hard work. I'm proud of you all.
Awesome. Yeah, Don, I'm so glad that you were able to watch the video and get some kind of clarity for that. Folks, I do want to make sure that you have access to that video there. So if you go to, and you know what, I'm just going to do this right here real quick. If you go to the partner side of the website, if you're a partner, you'll see that dashboard there. At the very top there, there's a new website tutorial. Click the Learn More button. It's got my not so attractive face on it right there, but that's the whole navigating the new financial issues website video.
But Seth, you got the new haircut.
I do have the new haircut. Yeah, so we're some things are working for us here. But yeah, I would encourage you, check that out. Read the FAQ page as well. It'll just help you get a little more information on it, be a little more comfortable with it. You can watch parts of it back and forth. I think it's around a 20-minute video, so it's not that long. You can do it during your lunch break or something like that. But yeah, Don, that's excellent that you love it, and I would encourage you to continue playing around with it, trying things out, seeing what works again. Really, really good stuff there. Thanks for sharing that, Don. That's awesome. Sam, what else do we have here?
Speaking of the new website and the new models that we have out now, Chris is 61. He says, I'm 61 and I was in the 55 to 65 model. I don't plan to retire till I'm 71. Which model should I use? Likewise, Jeffrey is also a little confused about the new allocation models. He says he was previously in the income and growth model, ages 65 into retirement, and he wants to know which one will be closest to what he had under the new systems.
Well, Chris and Jeffrey, those are good questions. I appreciate you guys asking. The choice is up to you. Let me say that right away. The choice is up to you on which model you want to use based on your life circumstance. You might be an older person, but you might be very confident in your health. You might be confident that you'll live another 30 or 40 years. So the choice is really up to you. Now, based on the information both of you gave, Chris is 61 and Jeffrey was in the growth model, 65 into retirement. I don't think Jeffrey says what his age is, but I'm guessing if it's in that age range, I'd be inclined to think the model you'd both want to move to, based on the info you gave us, would be that growth and income model. So that growth and income model, you're moving towards leaning heavily on the income from your investments, but you're not quite there yet. So obviously it's different from the kind of more aggressive growth model where you're just really thinking, okay, I've got a lot of time left. I want to be really aggressive. And it's a little more different also from the just entirely income model where now you're just relying on kind of the work that you did previously. It's kind of that middle model there. Generally speaking, and this is not hard and fast, folks, but generally speaking, the age ranges for this would be 50 to 75 years old, somewhere in that area there. Sam, you had mentioned that there's a great partner tutorial that kind of helps people see the differences between these two models. Can you just direct us to where that is on the partner side of our website here?
Yes, sure thing. So if you're a partner, you log into the partner side of the website, you click the partner hub, the rectangle up in the corner, and that will take you to the partners tool page, which is the main place you're going to go if you're partners. You're going to see the asset allocation models page. You click on that, and right at the top, there's an orange box, and it says asset allocation model full descriptions. You're going to click on that, and that's going to give you full detail about all the various models, what their long-term trajectory looks like, what your age range and risk tolerance should be for those models. So hopefully that if you look at that page, it will explain and answer all the questions that you have. But if you have more questions, feel free to write into the show. We'll be happy to answer them.
Please do. Please do. And once again, Chris and Jeffrey, again, there is some explanation for this in that partner tutorial video as well. So that might be helpful for you to kind of consider that also. Folks, I do want to just remind you how thankful we are for all of you with bearing with us as we are working out the kinks for this website. We want to make this as good as we possibly can. And we are okay with constructive criticism. I'm okay with that personally on the show. I don't mind it at all. I think it's a good thing, and especially for us as a ministry as well. So we want you to let us know if you're having issues with the website, if there are things that don't make sense, let us know. You can always write into pat@financialissues.org. pat@financialissues.org, or you can click on that contact button. You click that contact button, you can just send us a message, and and that will let us know kind of, what the issue you might be having with the website is, folks. Speaking of the website, I did want to point out one more thing to you all here. If you go to the Learn button, so it's at the top of the page, you see Financial Issues, Partnership, the show, then Learn. If you scroll a couple pages down there, you click the Financial Issues Bible Study with Seth Udinsky. I'm excited for Bible study this week, folks. I'll be back. Pastor John Webb did a phenomenal job filling in for me while I was on paternity leave. But I'll be back for our Daniel series. We'll be picking up in Daniel chapter 3. I believe will it be in verses 18 to 25 this week. But you can listen to past Bible studies if you are a partner as well. So I know many of you have really wanted the ability to be able to listen because you cannot get up for the 6:30 call time on Friday mornings. So that's an option for you as well. If you can't make the live Bible study, I'd always encourage you come to the live Bible study if you can. But if you can't, this is a great option for you for partners. So thank you all so much for those questions. We appreciate that a whole lot. And it's great to be here with you. If you have to leave us, we're coming to the end of the halfway portion of our show. We hope that you have a great rest of the day. For the rest of you, we got more financial issues coming up here. We'll also be looking at that farmer studies here about queer farmers. You have to laugh about it. And again, that is not a April Fool's joke there. All that and more coming up on financial issues, as well as your calls and questions. We'll be right back after this. Stick with us.
Where's Mima? We found out Shepard's diagnosis when I was about 17 weeks pregnant. We learned that he was going to need a series of surgeries after he was born in order to give him what they considered a normal life. And we weren't sure how this worked.
Yeah, very emotional, very broken. And as my wife just said, not sure how this worked. And called Samaritan, and they said, you just go have that baby. You leave the rest to us.
And just to hear the confidence on the other end of the phone of this is not something that you need to be concerned about at all. You focus on the health of your family, the health of your baby, and we will walk with you every step of the way.
I found out I was pregnant when I was 21 years old. For me, I was scared, I was shaking. I Googled places to abort. We drive there, and as soon as we get there, I open the door, and the first thing that I see is a bunch of Bible verses in the walls. They gave me a little counseling session, they gave me the pregnancy test again, and they do an ultrasound. And that's when everything changed. When I saw my baby, and when I heard her heartbeat, that was it. We decided with my boyfriend at the time, which is now my husband, to continue the pregnancy together. We started coming to the classes, doing our homework, getting counseling together. We've seen the hand of God ever since we stepped into the pregnancy center.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
My wife and I, we moved into this neighborhood. We had some experience with Crossroads Kids Club. We had served at another club. We kind of thought to ourselves, like, it would be really cool for us to actually bring in a club that was able to share the love of Jesus with kids directly into the school. And so we started our Crossroads at Hilltop.
Crossroads is amazing. You can learn all kinds of things about God. That He loves all of us. He died on the cross to pay for our sins. That He will help me in every way.
There is just such tremendous opportunity to reach kids in some of these areas that just aren't being reached.
Sometimes I pray every night. When I feel alone sometimes, God is right there sitting next to me. I can rely on Him no matter what happens.
To learn more about Crossroads Kids Club and how you can get involved, visit reachOurschools.com.
Financial Issues, everybody. I appreciate you all so much joining us today. It's a delight to be on the show here. I've missed it these last couple of weeks, so I'm grateful to be back with Sam and with the rest of you. Sam and the team, by the way, just doing a great job. I appreciate them so much. Darlene, of course, is on the phone, so if you call into the show, you'll get to talk to Darlene. You might not even want to talk to me, and that's fine. You don't have to talk to me. Talk to Darlene. Say hello to her. It's always wonderful to talk to her. And then, of course, Grant Ace, the Ace on the TriCaster, doing a great job as well.
I'm so jealous of his name. Grant
I know, it's
Ace.
a perfect
it's so
name.
cool.
Your name's pretty cool too, though.
Yeah, it's a good one, but not as good as Grant Ace, you know?
That's awesome. I love it.
It sounds like you need to be in Top Gun or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So fun stuff here, folks. Markets are all opening in what looks like negative territory as soon as my screen refreshes. Everything negative. The Dow Jones down 0.5 percentage point. The S&P 500 is down 2/5, and same with the NASDAQ, also down 2/5. Waiting on that news about the Trump tariffs. So we'll see what comes of that. Meanwhile, oil is trending right around $71.50 a barrel, little above that. The U.S. 10-year Treasury yield slightly lower than it was when we checked yesterday, right around 4.18%. So everything just waiting with bated breath to see what the president will say about those tariffs. So, well, Sam, let's get to some of our news headlines here. I saw this interesting one. I love you to bring this to our attention about hedge funds dropping tech stocks. What can you tell us about this? And also maybe what this could mean for our partners too.
So, according to Goldman Sachs, hedge funds, yes, indeed, Seth, are fleeing tech stocks at the highest levels we've seen in 5 years now. According to their analysis, U.S. tech stocks made up about 75% of selling last week, most of it related to AI hardware and stuff like that. The move comes as markets, as you said, are bracing for Trump's new tariff regime starting on April 2nd. They're just not sure what's going to happen. And hedge funds are specifically betting right now against major tech companies like NVIDIA, AMD, and Tesla. I guess Tesla's not a tech company per se, but it's heavily involved in the tech industry. But you're right. For partners listening, this isn't necessarily bad news, especially if you're in that growth model, which has a major portion of it in the tech sector. So I'd be looking at this thinking, maybe I want to start filling out that sector of my portfolio a little bit more because those prices are probably going to be coming down relatively quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, keep in mind that growth model, the name of the game there is aggressive. We're assuming if you're in the growth model, you've got time. And as you've heard Shanna say, and Dan before her, time in the market can be your best friend. If you've got time in the market, man, that is so, so important. That's why we encourage starting young. That's why we love to see when we get a question from someone who's 29 or 32 or 25 or something like that. We see them starting young. That is fantastic. So that growth model, so important for you to be able to be as aggressive as you can be. Of course, ultimately it's a conscience issue, right, Sam? I mean, if you're someone who you're just a little bit skittish about it, obviously I wouldn't tell you to go against your conscience as long as your conscience is held captive to the word of God.
But then again, I'd say if you're a little bit skittish, maybe the growth model's not right for you.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. And it could be as well that maybe if you're really skittish about it, maybe it would be best to just wait until you are confident that you can get into the markets. It'd be far better if you're not quite confident in swimming in the deep end of a swimming pool, but you think maybe you could do it. Might be better to wait to actually jump in until you're confident that you can swim. It's kind of one of those ideas. But I would also caveat that with, my guess is many of us are probably more confident than we think we are and have a better ability than we think we do to be able to do this really well. See, folks, our model is built to be able to be run by the average Joe. You do not have to be a financial professional to invest really well. With the FISM model in particular, it is built for, to put it bluntly, it's built for dummies. It's built for people like me. It's built for people who, you might not have a financial bone in your body, but you can still do it well. And so I would encourage you there that if you are feeling a little bit skittish about it, maybe seek the Lord and see what he might have you do with the money that he has given you. Definitely. So
very good.
Yeah, great stuff there, Sam. Thank you. What else do we have here, Sam? Let's get to this goofy article here on the queer farmers thing.
Yeah, this is kind of a fun tee up to the ag report. Well, fun in maybe scare quotes. Right, exactly. You got to laugh at it or you'll be crying, right? Yeah. So this is from Center Square. They are reporting that the U.S. Department of Agriculture has spent tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars studying LGBT issues, including a $15,000 $15,000 study in 2018. Get this, Seth, focusing on, quote, queer farmers' quality of life in Pennsylvania. The study said that it's studying the, quote, deeply entrenched assumption of heteronormativity in farming that has excluded queer farmers from full inclusion and benefits from agriculture. I bet Craig Haugard has plenty to say about that. There's also another study, Seth, another $15,000 grant analyzing, quote, how ethnic and gender identities shape Latino or Latina participation in sustainable agriculture, again, in Pennsylvania. So I don't know what's going on in Pennsylvania there, but for whatever reason, they feel like this is the state to study these issues.
Yeah, boy, this is, let me just say this, Sam, this is not a great showing for our home state of Pennsylvania right here.
Well, these are federal grants, though.
They are federal grants. There you go. Okay, so it's not entirely Pennsylvania is the problem here, but yeah, that's once again, just more waste of taxpayer dollars. Folks, here, let me say something about this also. I don't want to ever make light or joke around about an issue that is really serious. Here's the deal. The LGBTQ issue, first of all, it's a lie from the devil. So it's a lie saying that you can choose your gender, you can be whatever you want to be. God's design doesn't matter. Really, the lie is actually founded in the ultimate lie behind all lies, that you get to be God. That was what the devil tempted Adam and Eve with in the garden, was the desire to be God. If you eat the fruit, you will be like God, knowing good and evil. That's really what's behind all of this, first of all. Second of all, I think it would be really good for us as Christians to, as we continue to stand firm for the truth and speak out against the truth with boldness and conviction, that we also must do it gently. And this is hard for me to do all the time, but I think it's a good reminder for us that as we come across people who have these issues, deep-seated sin issues, that oftentimes you could maybe wonder if there's even some mental issues going on there, that we approach it with compassion. I'm not saying that we take away the truth. Okay, please don't hear me say that. For the love of all that is holy, don't hear me say that. But what I am saying is that we need to approach this with compassion, to introduce these people to the true Jesus, the Jesus who fights for his people and who frees them from their sin. It's not, and so many churches are preaching the wrong gospel here, that Jesus just loves you no matter what. He welcomes you as you are. He actually doesn't. He frees you from who you are. He frees you from your sin. He took your sin, he took who you are and killed it on the cross and makes you a new creation. And that's what these people need to know. These people need to know that the freedom that they're looking for is only going to enslave them more. The true freedom that they're looking for is found in Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ alone. That's what they need to know. And so I didn't mean to get on a whole rant there, preaching rant about this stuff, but I think it's so important, especially for those of us who are raising children in the next generation. Perhaps we know people in our own lives, young people often, it tends to be young people who tend to be caught up in this stuff. We've even shown studies, Sam, on the show before about how the identification with an LGBTQ identifying sexual identity has risen some like 400-fold or something in the last several generations. A lot of that has to do with so many people just being caught up in the cultural movement of it all. But they need the truth, folks. They need the truth.
And it's studies like these that amplify that cultural movement, because really the fact that you're gay, what does that have to do with your ability to plant corn or whatever? Absolutely. So why are they even studying this?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, folks, we need the truth. Let me also say this is why our strategy is so important, because we're using our investor dollars to try to fight against this dark agenda. We're not going to invest in companies that are promoting the LGBTQ agenda. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. And so we need to be convicted, bold, steadfast, immovable in that truth there. We got Craig Haugard coming up here, folks, with the Ag Report, speaking of agriculture, and then we'll be back with more financial issues right after the Ag Report. Here's Craig Haugard.
This is Craig Haugard with your Financial Issues Ag Update for April 1st. Well, yesterday's trade featured the quarterly stocks report and the planted acres projections, and really held very few surprises. Corn planted acres in 2025 are estimated to be 95.3 million acres. That's up 5% from last year. U.S. corn stocks on March 1st totaled 8.15 billion bushels, down 2% from March 1st of the previous year. At the close, May corn was 4 cents higher at $4.57 and 1/4 cent per bushel. Soybean planted acres for 2025 are estimated to be 83.5 million. That's down 4% from last year. Soybeans stored in the U.S. on March 1st came in at 1.91 billion bushels, a 4% increase over a year ago numbers. At the closing bell, May beans were 8 1/4 cents lower at 10.14 3/4. All wheat planted acres for 2025 are estimated to be 45.4 million acres. That's down 2% from 2024. And if that turns out to be the case, it would be the second lowest wheat planted acreage since records began back in 1919. Wheat stocks as of March 1st total 1.24 billion bushels. That's 14% increase over year-ago numbers. Minneapolis May wheat finished today 11 cents higher at $5.92 per bushel. Kansas City rose by 5 1/4 cents, closing at $5.57. And went Chicago 8 3/4 cents higher at $5.37. The USDA is projecting we're going to see 9.87 million acres of cotton planted this year. That would be down 12% from year-ago numbers. May futures ended the day 7 points lower at 66.83. Livestock futures all lost a little ground. We had June live cattle $1.20 lower at $203.65 per hundredweight. May feeder cattle were 67.5 cents lower at $284.50 per hundred, while June lean hogs dropped by 50 cents, closing at $95.27.5 per hundredweight. Class 3 milk futures spent the day in a very narrow trading range. At the close, May futures were 12 cents lower at $17.41. This has been Craig Haugard with your Financial Issues Egg update. We'll be right back with more financial issues after this.
It's up to us to stand up and say, enough is enough. All of this unbiblical stuff that's going on, whether it's abortion or transsexual or LGBTQ, widespread pornography, human trafficking. Bottom line, it's still up to us. If we stop investing in these corporations that are trying to destroy us, sooner or later they're going to wake up.
To learn more about biblically responsible mutual funds and ETFs, go to timothyplan.com.
Hi, this is Sheena Bird, the host of Financial Issues. Financial Issues family is so blessed to have saved tens of thousands of babies, all thanks to the generous support of you, our listeners and viewers. For $140, you can sponsor 5 ultrasounds. Please go to preborn.org, that's preborn.org, or financialissues.org and click on the Preborn logo. Save a baby, save a life.
What separates Crossroads Kids Club from other ministries to reach school-age children? What sets you guys apart?
First of all is our connection with local churches. We mobilize, equip, train, support local church partners. We're right inside the schools. There's a number of ministries that try to serve public school children outside of the school, but we're able to be right there on the campus. Another key thing is just our values. Our highest value is actually relationships. And so we're not a ministry that's driven by a lot of fancy technology or flashy stuff, but rather getting adults who love Jesus and who love kids to sit on the floor with a group of kids, to listen to them, to love them. So I would say the relational emphasis and the simplicity of the model is actually something that makes Crossroads special as well.
Help reach kids with the hope of the gospel. Visit reachOurschools.com.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Folks, the spiritual war around us really is for real. I think we see it so often when we talk about the LGBTQ issue, as we saw in that headline before the Ag Report. And of course, I saw this comment here. Brian from Wildwood, Missouri, appreciate this comment, saying yesterday was the supposed Trans Day of Visibility. Of course, a little rally downtown, and the news has to cover it. This is in Brian's hometown in Missouri. Said there was a guy wearing a T-shirt that says "Protect Trans Lives" with a blood-tipped knife logo on it. So what he's saying is you either approve of their lifestyle choice or they have the right to stab you. Okay, got it. Yeah, it's I mean, if you don't think this is a spiritual issue and that this is backed by demonic forces, I think you're living under a rock. Absolutely, brother. And let's not forget.
My first question wasn't like last week also Trans Day of Visibility?
Yeah,
I feel like every day is Trans Day of Visibility for these people. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous, man. It really is. And I do hope that we won't forget as well. This was a horrendous thing that happened. Sam, I remember we reported on FISM News 2 years ago. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? I can't remember. But there was the Covenant School massacre where a trans person opened fire and killed 6 Christians, 3 Christian children, and 3 adults in a Christian school. If you don't think that this is a spiritual issue, I'm not sure what to tell you. It absolutely is. And the answer, of course, is the gospel. It's the truth of Jesus Christ. That's why we need it. That's why we're here, hopefully to be able to provide that for you all and for anyone who you share this program with. And by the way, I would encourage you, share this. If you like the program, tell people about it. If you're, maybe this is something that you could tell your pastor about, tell your church about. If you like it, share the word. We would love to be able to have you do that. Over on Facebook, we got a comment in here. Rex was asking a good question. Rex, I'm going to save your question for Shanna. She's going to be on tomorrow. I think it's a great one for her, just asking about using the model and changing into the new model as well. But also, Rex had a great comment saying my portfolio, as it is up 30% thanks to FISM, Dan, Shanna, and all the rest.
Hey, yo.
Rex, that's awesome, man. We'd love to hear that. That's so cool. And of course, that's never a guarantee of being able to have an experience like that. But, we keep hearing people using the FISM model and you're doing great. And we believe it's because it works. This model really works. It's long-term. If you want to use a crass term for it, it's kind of boring, but not boring in the sense that it's not fun. It's just steady, slow growth. You're taking wise risk. It's not foolish risk. It is risk, but it's not foolish risk. It's wise risk. And we really believe that if you do that and seek to honor the Lord with what he's given you, that he's going to bless you for it. And so that is tremendous, Rex. We're so grateful for you sharing that with us and glad that you're doing really well. That's awesome. All right, Sam, let's get back to some more headlines here. What is Gen X feeling about retirement right now? This is Gen X, of course. So this would be our parents' generation, I guess, the people, 15, 20 years above us. What are they feeling right now?
Well, sadly, they're not feeling too great. According to a recent Fidelity survey, 45% of Gen X, so you're right, that's between about 44 and 59 years old, they say they are not confident they'll be able to retire, quote, when and how they want. That's a 16% drop from last year, with, of course, cost of living still being a major factor for this. Fidelity describes Gen X as being the, quote, sandwich generation. What they mean by that is that they're kind of in between two major spending things. That's things they have to spend money on. They're caring for children and aging parents at the same time, as well as preparing for retirement. So they're pressed in on all sides, and they're feeling kind of depressed about it because there's all these things demanding money, and that means that not all their money is going to the retirement account the way they want.
Yeah. So interesting stuff there. I know people personally, family members and friends in this age range who are in that situation right now. They've got children still living at home. They're also maybe grandparents. They have older children who have, grandkids at this point. But they're also trying to figure out how to begin to care for those aging parents. They've got boomer parents who are still alive and by God's grace doing well and healthy. But they got to figure that out. That's an interesting spot to be for sure. And folks, I think it is just a wonderful, good reminder for us. Couple keys here. 1, start early with your investing, and 2, live within your means throughout your whole life. And I'm certainly not saying that this particular group of surveyees who are not confident they'll be able to retire when and how they want didn't do that, but I can't help but wonder if that might have been part and parcel to it also. It is so important. If I could give you one foundational financial piece of advice that by God's grace has been a huge blessing to me and my family, is just figure out how to live within your means throughout your whole life. You got to do it throughout your whole life. And of course, keep that in mind also that our founder, Dan Celia, always used to say that your greatest asset is the ability to earn an income. One of your greatest assets. We talk about time in the market's a great asset as well, but one of your greatest assets is the ability to earn an income. So you got to figure out how to do that. Simply got to figure out how to do it. So interesting stuff there, Sam. Thank you for that. Elsewhere, I think some good news here. What's going on in the state of Idaho regarding prenatal development being taught in public schools? A little bit, we're shifting gears a little bit here, but this is important, Sam.
Yeah, I'm sure our friends at Preborn are celebrating about this. Idaho Governor Brad Little has signed a bill into law as of last week requiring public schools to teach 5th grade and up about how babies develop in the womb. This includes showing the development of the brain, heart, sex organs, other organs in early fetal development. And schools must also show, get this, a high-definition ultrasound video as well as part of the instruction. It's following similar moves by North Dakota and Tennessee. But sadly, Seth, the pro-abortion groups are not too happy about this, claiming the instructions could, quote-unquote, stigmatize abortion. So heaven forbid we stigmatize killing babies.
Yeah,
but they're not too happy about that.
I am all for the mass stigmatization of abortion. I would love to have that happen. I'd love for people to look at it as the disgusting act that it is, because that is what it is. Sam, this is awesome. I'm grateful for this. This is how, I really think this is how a movement in the right direction starts, in the same way as this is how a movement in the wrong direction starts, where you get to kids at a young age and you teach them what is true. And so teaching the early development of brain, heart, sex organs, other vital organs in early fetal development. It was so fascinating, Sam. I've had conversations with different folks in my life who don't see the same as I do. They might not consider themselves pro-life. But when you talk to them about people who they know, for example, my own children, and I explained to these people, hey, listen, my son, who you love as well, he was still him. It was still Josiah when he was in the womb. Knox had a heartbeat before 6 weeks. I mean, he was a child then. I'm holding him now in my arms, but he's no different than when he was in the womb. Yet there are so many people who think it's okay to kill him if he's in one spot than he is in another spot. I think this is really good that we're seeing children being taught what is true. And again, it starts at that grassroots level. It's subtle here. It's just showing how babies develop in the womb. But oftentimes, as we've heard from Preborn, that very act of showing the development in the womb, hearing the heartbeat, for example, can be what saves the baby's life. Simple as that. Simple as that. So yes, can't stress enough how good the work that Preborn's doing, folks. And if you're interested in learning more about them, check them out, preborn.com. Of course, you can find them on our website. Just click the banner on Preborn. But I also want to just point out how important this is regarding our strategy. Like what we talked about with the trans stuff, we want no part in the murder of babies. Simple as that. We want no part in it. We want not a drop of that bloodshed that we want on our hands. We want to save those babies. We want to help bring them to life. We want to protect the mothers who are bringing them to life and bring them the gospel. And so not only do we support Preborn, but also in our investor dollars. This is the strategy that we put forth. You will not find companies that support abortion. You won't find them. And we're very proud of that, and that's not going to change. So I do hope that encourages you as much as that encourages us, folks. Really good stuff. Speaking of encouragement, Sam, it might be time for us to turn to the scriptures as we close our show. Folks, it's been a great show, and I appreciate you all so much. The chat's been lively today. It's been a lot of fun getting to interact with you all. But the scripture tells us in 1 Timothy 6, verse 12, fight the good fight of faith. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called and about which you made the good confession in the presence of many witnesses. If you were with our Bible study several years ago, actually it wasn't several years ago, it was only several months ago, we were in the books of 1 and 2 Timothy. And I remember when we studied this exact passage and how beautiful it was to understand Paul telling Timothy, pick up your sword and fight. Remember the confession that you made in the presence of many witnesses, including probably Paul himself, as well as some of the other apostles who were there when Timothy was ordained to ministry. But folks, here's the deal. Saving babies from abortion, bringing the gospel to public schools with Crossroads, using your dollars to invest in companies that do not support the garbage of this world, these are all theaters of the spiritual war in which we engage. These are all ways that you can pick up your sword and fight. The Christian faith is not a pacifist faith. That's going to offend some people. Christians are not pacifists. We're not called to be pacifists. We are called to be fighters. Fighting for the truth. Now, our main foe is not flesh and blood, but the spiritual powers and principalities ruling in the heavenly places. But we have got to fight. Folks, we have an ancient foe who's seeking to destroy the image of God, rob us of our joy, rob us of our hope in this world. By God's grace, if we belong to Christ, he can't rob us of our salvation, thank goodness, thank the Lord. Satan cannot take that away from us, but he's trying to destroy our joy. He's trying to destroy the image of God. He's trying to take as many people down with him, and he must be stopped. And we must fight and praise God we fight in the victory of King Jesus. He has already won the victory for us. And so we march forward knowing that he stomped on the serpent's head, and we fight well. We have a guaranteed victory, folks, but the battle's not over. So we need to stand and fight in this spiritual war that we were called. It's about living for Christ. Live for him, bring him glory in everything that you do. And you'll be found a good and faithful servant. As we always say at the end of every show, that's what we want each and every one of you to be found as when you get to glory. So, boy, great show. I appreciate you all so much joining us. Sam, thank you, man. It was a lot of fun. God willing, we'll do it again tomorrow. Shanna, Lord willing, will be back tomorrow. I'm very excited to have her back. It's going to be a lot of fun. Remember, folks, everything you have belongs to the Lord. Let's be found good and faithful stewards with it. And please ask us your questions. If you got questions about the website, keep playing around with it. Keep setting up your portfolios, your asset allocation models. And God willing, we'll do it again tomorrow. Have a great day. See you next time.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.